Hi, everyone. Thanks for attending another GoDaddy Pro webinar, or if this is your first one, welcome. We're glad to have you. I'm Angela with GoDaddy Pro. I'll be your host, and you might see me in chat occasionally as well. Today we have Banu from RankMath. Hi, Banu. I'm gonna
Hey,
I'm gonna introduce him in a few minutes and let him talk about himself and tell you a little more about his topic. He's basically going to be doing a demo for you today here in a few minutes. In the meantime, before we get started, it's time for our traditional shameless plug. So share your website with us so we can see who we've got here. It can be like your own website, a project you're working on, pretty much any URL you would like to give a shout out to, and we'll check that out. We usually have Chorba on with us. He runs the GoDaddy Pro Twitter handle, and he's typically my co-pilot in the chat, but he is out today, not feeling too well, and we've got Andy here in his place. Say hi to Andy McElwain from the GoDaddy Pro community. He's going to be helping you out here in chat. So I'm going to go ahead and let Banu talk to you here. I'm going to drop off of camera and let him just take it away. Go ahead, Banu.
thanks a lot for having me, Angela. Hey, everyone. So let me just start sharing my screen. Hey, everyone. So I'm Bhanu Aluwalia. I'm one of the founders of a plugin called RankMath SEO. And I'm also one of the founders of a company called My Theme Shop, where we sell premium WordPress themes and plugins. I started off working online after completing my engineering in computer sciences back in 2009. And then I worked for a few big publications as a social media promoter, and later on ended up doing my own businesses. So since 2012, we have been involved with WordPress exclusively. And in 2015, we felt the urge that all the SEO plugins out there were not providing a complete suite so that we could handle everything related to SEO via one plugin. So we ended up building a plugin for ourselves. We developed that internally. We used that for almost like 3.5 years. And then we released the plugin in November 2018. And since then, the plugin has garnered over 4,000 active installations on WordPress.org with 1,700 positive reviews, and we are still growing very rapidly. So today in today's screen webinar, we will be discussing about SEO, but I also want you to know about our background, that how we started off with WordPress. Initially, we built websites for ourselves, and then we were being selected as premium AdSense publisher by Google. So this is one of our websites where we drive the entire traffic from Google. It is like, we build websites, we pump them with traffic, and then we sell them off so that we can keep evolving with the new technologies and what is currently working and what is not currently working. And then we implement all those things that are currently working into our plugin and into our products. So today we will be discussing about what is SEO, especially the WordPress SEO part, and then why it is important, challenges that are being involved when someone is doing WordPress SEO. And we have seen a common misconception that people say that just by installing an SEO plugin for WordPress, they are done with the part of doing the SEO, which is definitely not true. And I'll be discussing more about that and how actually the SEO plugins help with SEO. Then we will be configuring and setting up the RankMath plugin entirely. And then we will be discussing about the common misconceptions around SEO. And then I'll be showing you some of the tricks that are very handy, and people often do not use them to drive more traffic from Google. For instance, showing up star ratings in the search results. This really helps when someone is looking out for a product or a service. And when they see the star ratings, they are much more likely to click on search results, because these results catch eyes very easily compared to all the other results. So what exactly is SEO? So SEO in layman's terms is a way to get your website ranked not only on the first page of Google, but also on the first position. And I'll be discussing more about it, why you should be trying to get your result get ranked on the first position rather than on the first page. uh, it compromises of two things. One is the on-page SEO and the other is the off-page SEO. The on-page is something that we can control and could be handled via WordPress and SEO plugins, and that we will be discussing today. The other part is the off-page SEO, which is a broader topic, and we won't be able to discuss that in its entirety, or I mean, not even close to it in this today's webinar. So why SEO is important? First of everything, the traffic that you drive from the search results, that is very targeted. I would say that it is a laser targeted traffic. For instance, just think of it that you are searching for a shaver. You would be searching on Google, which is the best shaver under $100, and then you will be clicking on the results, and you are most likely to buy a product after reading the reviews. So the traffic that people drive on the on search on such topics, which includes the intent of buying, have really high ROI. And then these users are very easy to convert compared to running a PPC ad or a paid ad on Facebook or Google or somewhere else. And top of it, the entire traffic is almost free. The only part where you got to put in efforts is when you are creating the content, and maybe in some cases when building up the backlinks. And but that is based mostly when you are dealing with keywords that have high that have high competition or requires much more in-depth content and things like that. Also, Google is evolving very fast, and they are now utilizing their natural language processing, which is called the NLP, and their AI. They combine that, and then they have huge data to compare your article with other articles, so that they can very easily deduce that if your article is able to fulfill the intent of the user or intent of the search that someone is performing in Google. As I mentioned previously, that you got to get ranked on the first position rather than on the first page, and that is becoming more and more prominent, and that is like really vital in these days. A study was being conducted recently, and the latest results show that let's assume that this search term schema theme gets like 10,000 searches per month from the US only. Then you can very safely assume that almost 2,900 clicks will be going to towards the first result that will be shown on that page, and then somewhere around 1,600 clicks will be going to the second result. And as you can see, the numbers drop very sharply as you go down. So it is very vital that you try and get ranked on the first position. May that be the first search result, or it could be a featured snippet. So the challenges that we personally faced when we were dealing with the SEO plugins for WordPress, we noticed that first of everything, you got to understand that WordPress by default does not provide any meta tags related to SEO. And I'll show you how does that look like. This is a default WordPress installation. So if you click and check the page source of this page, you would notice that there is no robos tag, which is like very important. But let's say if someone has installed an SEO plugin on their website and you check the page source of that website, you would notice that the SEO plugins for WordPress provides all the essential tags that are being read and that are being read by the by different search engines. And one of the most important tags is the robos tag. It defines whether you want your content to be indexed or not. So these options and these tags are not provided by default inside WordPress. So that is the very first thing that is missing. Second thing, if you got to do the entire SEO process, on-page SEO process, you got to install several plugins. For instance, you have to install a different plugin for redirections, a separate plugin for schema, a different plugin for a 404 monitor, a different plugin for installing the Google Analytics code, the Google Search Console data. So you end up installing tens of different SEO plugins, and it becomes very problematic down the line when different updates chime in, and then you have to see whether or not those updates are conflicting with any of the themes you are using or the different various plugins you are using, and it becomes very cumbersome. Rather than spending your energy in dealing with the plugins, one should be dealing and spending their energy on creating better content or promoting their content. And then we notice that most of the SEO plugins out there do not have any clear set of results, because they do not provide very easy to understand options, and their language is kind of difficult to understand. Now, that was another issue which we faced. And top of everything, we noticed, with all the due respect to the developers, because I work with them day in and out, but with the plugins that are being built for WordPress, especially the SEO ones, they are built with the mindset of a developer. So let's say if you got to edit any option, or if you got to make any change, you have to fiddle around with the code, which is not very convenient for most of the people, including me. I do not prefer dealing with the code. So how SEO plugins actually help? As I showed you previously, that by default, WordPress does not add any meta tags to your page source, but whenever you are installing an SEO plugin, such tags are being added, and these actually help with the SEO. Because, for instance, the schema tag, which is this tag, this helps you get the rich results. This is a rich result where a star rating is showing. This is a rich result where you get more real estate, and you get more links in the search result, rather than having just a single link to your website. Second thing that the SEO plugins add is the sitemap file. This is actually an index of all the articles and all the pages or products or whatever you have on your website. This serves as an index for the search engines, so that they can come and read the content of the XML file, and they would know instantly which articles or which pages or which products you want to be indexed and shown in the search results. With WordPress 5.5, they also WordPress also introduced the sitemap in the core, but that is not very robust. So we at RankMath decided to disable that and automatically generate an SEO optimized sitemap for the users. So that is the second thing. The last thing, which may or may not be possible via an SEO plugin, but I believe that most of the other SEO plugins also provide this option. That is to generate a robust.txt file. This file serves as a means for the search engine bots to determine whether or not they are allowed to crawl a website. By crawling, I mean that whether or not they can go through various pages on your website and then see if the content is worthy of getting indexed and getting ranked on the first position. All these things are being defined in a robust.txt file, and also it links to the sitemap file which you have, which is like the index of all the articles, as I mentioned, and also defines which directories should not be crawled. This is something could also be generated manually, but again, the process is not very straightforward. So these are the major things that the SEO plugins provide technically for your website, apart from helping you optimize your content, which I'll be showing in.
Just a second.
you go ahead and click on plugins and then click on add new. And you can search for RankMath. Then click on the install now button. So even if you have another SEO plugin installed currently on your website, let's say Yoast or All-in-One SEO or SEO Press or any other SEO plugin, RankMath imports the entire data from all those SEO plugins to RankMath and even from their premium counterparts. So as soon as you click on the activate button, you will be redirected to a page where you can connect your account to the free to a free RankMath account. This step is completely optional and you can skip this, but I'll go ahead and click and connect the account, and I'll be showing you what what this does when you connect your account. So as I was already logged in, it showed up my account. So the very first step that you get to see is the kind of setup you want out of RankMath. If you are starting out, I would recommend using the easy mode, because this mode pre-selects all the best possible options for all the settings in the plugin. But if you are an advanced user and would want more control out of the RankMath plugin, then you can choose the advanced mode. I'll choose the advanced mode for this demonstration. And also on the same screen, you can see that the RankMath plugin runs a very basic check on the environment of your hosting provider. So if you are using, let's say, GoDaddy or GoDaddy Pro services, then all these things are are automatically installed on most of the hosting providers, and these things should not only be are not only required by RankMath plugin, but these are like very basic for even for running a proper WordPress installation on your website. So if you are unsure, so just ensure if you're unsure of how to install or should these be installed or not, it is always advised that you go ahead and choose the recommended web hosting providers rather than going with the new hosting providers that are not optimized for WordPress. So you can click on the start wizard. The next step shows which options and which settings you want to import from your previous SEO plugins. Let's say if you have SEO, Yoast SEO installed on your website, then you can select the settings and the options that you want to be imported over to RankMath. So for this, I'll go ahead and click on Start Import. The importing process is very fast, and we have tested this on a website with over 100K posts, and it was very quick, and it imported all the data correctly. As soon as the importing is completed, your previous SEO plugin gets deactivated. That is done so that these meta tags are not generated over and again. Otherwise, what happens is that when you have like 2 SEO plugins activated on your website, these tags get generated twice. So search engine bots like Google, they get confused which one to honor. So that is something you should never be doing. Do not activate 2 SEO plugins at the same time. So click on continue. So the next step is to choose the kind of website that you are running. It could be a personal website where you are writing all by yourself, or it could be a community website or a news website, or it could be a web shop, a small business website where maybe you could be selling your wedding photography services or something, or a locksmith services. If you're unsure of what sort of business you are running, you can simply go ahead and choose web shop. So from the next step is to choose the business type. All these options are being pulled from Google. These are the types of businesses that Google recognize and are being shown in the search results. So if you are unsure that, or maybe let's say locksmith shows up in the search result, but for instance, hotels is not showing up in the drop down menu, then you can simply go ahead and choose organization. This is the default that the plugin this is the default option that a plugin provides you for choosing your business type. But if you know the specific type of your business, and if that is available in this dropdown, go ahead and choose that. Otherwise, do not be very much bothered about this. Next step is to choose the company name. For this, I'll go ahead and choose RankMath. So why are we even entering these options? Why are we even entering the values in these options? That is because, let's say, if you must have noticed that whenever you search something on Google, you might notice a knowledge graph on the right hand side. These these values are being pulled from the data that you enter in here. The company name RankMath is the company name in here, Apple. The technology company is the type of the business that you choose in here. And the next thing is to choose a logo, which is a squared one. This is kind of a weird thing that Google enforces, because logos are usually rectangular, but I mean, to comply with the requirements, you can create a new logo for your website, which is a squared image. So go ahead and choose that. And these these values will be pulled by Google if they think that your brand or your website is popular, or even if your personal brand is popular, is getting more brand searches to it, then a knowledge graph is being shown in here. The next thing is to choose a default sharing image. So you must have noticed that on most of the websites, when you share their articles, or you are scrolling through the feeds on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, you might have noticed that these images might not be always optimized or optimal for what the content is present on that page. That is because uh, those websites do not define an OG image, which is called the open graph image, which is something that social media websites like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, they honor those tags. So to go ahead to optimize your website, you can choose a default image which shows up every time someone shares an article from your website where those values are not being defined. Obviously, these could be changed on a per post basis. The next step is to connect your Google Search Console account. What this primarily does is that it pulls all the data from Google Search Console and displays that data inside WordPress, so that it gets very easy and comfortable for very convenient for you to go through all the top ranking keywords, articles, and then you can optimize them further. But for now, I'll simply skip that step. The next step is to choose the kind of the type of articles that you want your sitemap index to include. Remember the sitemap which I showed you when we started off with this webinar. You can actually define and select the kind of articles and or the pages or the posts or the products that you want to be indexed and shown on the search results. At the same point of time, you can also choose whether or not you want your images to be included. We highly recommend to include to turn this option on, and this is on by default. For categories, this is completely optional, but what we have noticed in general, that until unless you have a huge website where you have like thousands of articles, and you actually need categorizing them so that each category provides great value to the users, it is not advised to index your categories, because otherwise those category pages simply serve as duplicate content pages on your website. So go ahead and click on save and continue. The next step is to choose the various SEO tweaks that we provide in the plugin. For instance, if your category does not have any article or a post or a page attached to it, the RankMath plugin automatically adds a no follow tag to it. So what that means is that instead of showing a follow tag, it will show up as a no follow tag. And also instead of showing an index tag, it will show a no index tag if your categories are empty. That is really helpful if so that you do not end up getting hit by Google for thin content pages on your website. But as soon as you add articles or as soon as you assign posts to your category pages, This no index and no follow tag changes to index and follow automatically. So this should be turned on by default. The next option is to choose whether or not you want all the external links on your uh, content pages to have a no follow tag. This is not recommended to be turned on, and this is uh, a common misconception that we see, that people say that linking out to third-party websites is via using a follow tag is dangerous for their page value or the page rank, and this kind of dilutes their page authority. That is definitely not true. So until unless you have a website where you are only adding content related to affiliate um, uh, programs, let's say you are only adding links to Amazon products using a referral link, this setting should be turned off. The next option is very straightforward, that whenever you add a third-party website in a link to a third-party website from your content, it automatically opens up in a new tab. So I did not change anything in here. So I clicked on save and continue. The next, the advanced setup options can be explored via the video tutorial that I'll be linking later on in this video. So for now, I'll click on return to dashboard. So when you return to the dashboard, you will see various modules that are being provided by the RankMath plugin. For instance, it provides an option provides an option for you to monitor the 404 pages. 404 pages are the pages that do not exist on your website, but somehow people are ending up visiting those pages. So those are dangerous for your website in terms of user experience. That is a bad user experience. So let's also, if you have the AMP plugin installed on your website, so you can turn on this module. If you have if you want your images to be optimized further for SEO, you can turn on the image SEO module for redirections, and there are several different modules that are added to the RankMath plugin. You can turn on and you can turn them on as per your requirements. So if you are running a local website, you click on titles in meta, then click on the local SEO. In this tab, what you should be doing is that you should be entering up your address in here, the way in which you want your address to be printed on the front end. For instance, let's say I want my address to be printed first, then the locality, then the region, and then the postal code. You can choose that, and you can also select that from the drop down that is being added in this option. And then you can also define your opening hours for different days in the week. And then importantly, you should be adding the contact numbers of your business, so that if someone wants to contact your if someone wants to contact your customer service, or someone wants to contact you directly, they can do that very easily. And all this data, let's say if someone is searching for your business, all this data shows up in here. As you can see, the numbers are your phone number shows up in here, the address shows up in here. So all this data is being pulled by Google. One of the reasons that I connected the account at the beginning of this tutorial was to show this SEO analysis inside WordPress. So what this does is that it runs various tests on the homepage of your website and to some of the inner pages of your website to give you an overall SEO score. What this does is that it helps you determine where your website is, where your website needs some attention, and you can easily fix that by clicking on how to fix. This tool is available for free on our website when you click on the analyzer. But if you are connecting your account with the RankMath plugin, you also get the all those tests inside your WordPress dashboard, so that it becomes much more convenient. One of the things that I want to emphasize in here is that whenever you are starting out a new website, just ensure that you have always defined your site title and tagline. Site title should be uh, usually the brand name of your website or the product that you are selling. The tagline should be small and precise and should easily convey what sort of website you are running. For instance, let's say I added the site title as RankMath, and then the tagline was SEO plugin for WordPress. The next thing that you must ensure that the WordPress URL and the site URL matches, and you do not have any different values added to any of these fields. Also, you must ensure that you do not have any forward slashes added to any of these fields. Otherwise, what happens is that WordPress by default adds the forward slash. And if you are also adding a forward slash in any of these fields, then you will end up seeing your URL like this with two forward slashes, which is not very SEO friendly. The second thing that you must uh, check with your hosting provider, that you have an SSL certificate installed. What this does is that it shows that your connection is secure in the browser tab whenever someone is visiting your website. So if you are visiting a website which is not secured, Google Chrome shows a warning, and that is a bad user experience and also a ranking factor. But if you are using a hosting provider like GoDaddy or any other renowned hosting provider, then the SSL certificate is installed by default, or you can request to them to install a free SSL certificate via Let's Encrypt. The second thing you must ensure that your the preferred URL of your website is one for. So let's say if this is my preferred URL, and it does not make a huge difference or any difference at all in terms of SEO, whether or not you are choosing a www dot version of your website or a non www version of your website. This is entirely based on your choice, whether or not you want to use it. It does not have any huge technical implications or any SEO benefits if you are using a non-WW version or a WWW version. But at the same point of time, whichever version you choose, let's say for this instance, we have the non-WWW version. You must ensure that all the different variations of your website must redirect to your preferred URL. And if that is not happening, you must get in touch with your hosting provider to correct that for you. For instance, let's say if someone is entering the HTTP, uh, someone is entering the HTTP version of the website, they must get redirected to the HTTPS version. And likewise for the www version. You can also check that when you run your website through the SEO analyzer on our website, and then check for the www canonization of your website. This test must pass. This is otherwise what happens is that Google treats both the variations of your website, that is this URL and this URL will be treated differently. So your SEO efforts will be diluted, and you got to work twice on your SEO, and that is not preferred. Then click on Save Changes. The next thing that you must ensure that the search engine visibility option should be unticked. If you are running a live website, this should be unticked. And if you're running a staging website or a website where you are only testing the waters, then this option should be ticked. One of the most important options in WordPress is to ensure that you are choosing a preferred URL structure of your posts and the pages on your website. But at the same point of time, if you already have a website and the pages are indexed and you are getting traffic from Google, this setting is not advised to be changed. Otherwise, what happens is that usually we have seen that people see a huge decline in their traffic, because then Google has to crawl the entire website again and then index the new pages on Google, and that's most of the times result in the decline of the traffic. Yes, you might recover your traffic down the line, and that usually happens, but the there is a huge time gap depending upon how popular your website is. But if you are starting out, I would recommend choosing the post name as your preferred URL, because such URLs are easy to remember, and this creates a good user experience. Otherwise, URLs like this, they do not make any sense, and people usually cannot uh, memorize such URLs. But if your website has a clean URL structure, these are much more easy to remember. So how to actually write content so that you can you can try and optimize your content for getting ranked on the first position of Google. Uh, we have decided to do another webinar on how to do the keyword research. In our experience, we have noticed that the key for getting ranked on the first page and on the first position lies greatly on which keyword you are targeting. By keyword, I mean the phrase that people enter in here, the kind of phrase, the words that people search whenever they are looking out for something. This is very vital whenever you are trying to compete in the SEO space. And people usually go after very high competitive keywords even if they are just starting out, and that usually does not translate well in terms of getting ranked and driving traffic, and people lose their interest. So we will be doing another webinar on that and how to do a proper keyword research so that you know which keywords to target whenever you are writing the content. The second thing you got to ensure is that do not run after the scores or the lights that the SEO plugins provide to you, because think of it, these are just guidelines. These are not the these are not like the to-do list or a short way for you to get ranked. If someone is telling you that, they are lying, because they wouldn't be selling such a software where they could crack they could crack the algorithm of Google. So whenever you are writing an article, just ensure that you are writing your article by keeping your user into your mind, not the search engines. So always ensure that you are writing using proper formatting in your content, and also have say a table of content. Table of content is very important, especially if you're writing a long form article, because think of it, whenever you're reading a book, you in the very first few pages, you always see a table of content so that you can easily navigate yourself to a particular section or a particular chapter of the book. Likewise, if your users want to navigate to a particular section in the article, these table of content greatly help them, and this is a very helpful user experience as well. So always add that. Top of it, always add various images, videos, so that as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So it definitely translates very well when you are writing the articles. So whenever you are done writing the article, then only you should be trying to optimize your articles using an SEO plugin. The very first thing that you must do is to define what sort of keyword you are targeting. Uh, all these suggestions that you're seeing in here are being pulled from Google. So this is this is another benefit of connecting your free RankMath account with the plugin. As you can see that the article is already optimized, but let's see what else we can optimize. So as you can see that it is showing that the focus keyword, which is this, the Elementor SEO, is not added to the meta description. The meta description is the text that shows up right below the title of the post that is being shown on the search results. Google usually generates this on their own, but it is always advised to add this manually. So for that, you simply click on edit snippet, and in the description, just add the focus keyword very naturally. For instance, I could write this article is all about Elementor SEO and shows you various ways to optimize. And as you can see that the RankMath plugin also shows you how many characters are recommended to be entered in these fields, because Google have a limitation on the character limit that they show in the meta description. They keep on experimenting different limitations, but this is what we have noticed is the most common character limit that they enforce to on their users. Also, you can also see the preview, how your post might look when someone is searching on Google, and you can also view the a mobile version of your website. As soon as you enter that, you can see that this test is passing. But at the same point of time, you got to understand that you should not be entering, or you should not be trying to fulfill something if that is not making sense for you. And this does not only apply only for the RankMath plugin, but also for other SEO plugins. So only if these tests are making sense to you and you think that this will help your users, then only try and fulfill the requirements in the plugins. For instance, add at least one external do follow link in your content. So this is recommended, and we have seen that this helps greatly, because think of it that you're writing an article on a website, but you must have taken the reference, or you must have done your research when writing the article by looking out the content that you are writing on some other website. And some by other website, I mean some noticeable website or some trustworthy website, for instance, Wikipedia. So if you are linking out to those websites, it becomes very easy for not only for your users, but also for the search engine bots to understand that you have done your research prior to writing the article. And that helps not greatly, but that does help with the SEO part. And as you can see that it is asking, the plugin is asking me to add a number to the title of the post, which does not make sense. So as long as something is not making sense to you, do not try and fulfill the tests that are being shown in the plugin. The next step is to choose whether or not you want your content to be indexed. In most of the cases, if you're writing an article, just leave it as it is because you want your content to be indexed. And if not, simply go ahead and choose the no index or no follow and other tags. If you are unsure what to enter in here, you can click on this help icon and then you can read more about it. Or otherwise, you can also click on this help icon and then you can open the link, and then you can read the entire knowledge base article based on what you should be doing and whether or not this is a preferred setting or the preferred test that you should be implying, that you should be trying to fulfill on your website. The next thing is to choose whether or not you want your snippets to be shown. If you change this value to 0, then if someone is searching on your website on Google, no meta description will be shown. This is not recommended, and in most of the cases, you should not change any of these values. Then the third tab is to choose the kind of schema markup. So what is a schema markup? In layman's terms, schema markup is a way for you to define what sort of content you have written on your website. So whenever search engine bots come to your website, they will look out for such tags that define the schema.org content. And what this does is that let's say if you're writing an article on news, you can define all those values in here. Let's say the title and the description. And if Google finds that the data that you entered in the schema markup matches with the overall content of your website, then your website kind of become eligible to show the rich results, which is like showing up star ratings in the search results or various different types of rich results that Google provides. So this is another benefit of using the RankMath plugin, and you can choose from various schema markups, but do not try and manipulate. If you are writing an article, do not try and choose recipe from here and try to manipulate the search results, because otherwise your website might get penalized by Google. So if you are unsure whether you're writing about an article or a course or anything, simply choose none. But do not try and choose something random just because you have an option in here. The final tab is for choosing the sorry, for choosing the image and the title and the description that shows up when someone shares your articles on social media websites like Facebook or Twitter. You can simply go ahead and choose the image that you would want to be shown when someone shares this article on Facebook or Twitter. If you are choosing the Twitter, you can see the preview directly inside WordPress. You can also define a different title if you would want that, and also a different description that shows up when someone shares the article. And if you are satisfied, if you have previewed your article, and if you are sure that everything is fine, that you can simply go ahead and publish the article. This is how you basically optimize your content for SEO using any SEO plugin, and mainly RankMath in this case. So let's talk about the common misconceptions. Redirecting all the 404 pages to the homepage. This is one of the biggest mistakes that we see people make. So let's say let's say someone visits a page on your website which does not exist. Let's say this. Oh, sorry. Let's say something like this, because they might have mistyped your URL, or they or some third-party website is linking incorrectly to your website. They end up on a page which is called a 404 page. So what people do is that they redirect all such pages to the homepage. Think of it from this perspective. You are entering into a supermarket, and you knew specifically where exactly the section for milk was situated when you previously visited this supermarket. You navigated yourself, you reached there, and then there was a person standing there who requested, or let's say asked you to go back to the entrance store without even telling you where that milk section has moved now, or even if or if that even or if that the milk is even available in the supermarket or not. That is what exactly you do when you redirect all the 404 pages back to the home page. So that not only contributes to a bad user experience, but Google also hates that. So in such cases, what you can do when you are using RankMath plugin, or let's say if you're using other SEO plugin and you have also installed a plugin for redirection, then you go ahead and check the 404 pages on your website, and then click on redirect. What you can do in this case, if you have actually deleted this page, let's say you had some content on your website, but that became irrelevant or outdated, and you have now deleted that page on your website, then rather than redirecting that page to some other website, you simply go ahead and choose 410. What this does is that it instructs search engine bots to remove that page from their index. So let's say this page is no longer available on your website, then Google will remove this page and won't show it for the search for the um, targeted term that you were targeting. But let's say let's say you have a very related article on your website, which is uh, kind of very closely related to what you have already deleted on your website, or um, you previously have I mean what you previously wrote, but that page does not exist, but now you have written a new guide and that is very closely related to what you previously wrote. In that case, you can choose the destination URL. Let's say this is the destination URL, this is the new page, new article that I have that you have written on your website. then you simply enter the URL in here and click on add redirection. What this does is that whenever someone is visiting this page on your website, they get redirected to the closely related page that you have recently written on your website. And this also helps not only with the user experience, but this kind of adds more SEO value to a website. That is how you should be handling the 404 pages on your website. Then creating too many internal links. We have seen examples and we have seen websites where people try and exploit the internal links. What they do is that they try and link almost every second or third word to some other article on their website, thinking that this will pass link juice internally. That is not true. Always write the article by keeping your user in mind. You wouldn't want to visit a website where the entire article is filled up with links and it becomes very difficult for you to concentrate and read the article. Always write from the user perspective and use minimal internal links, and also only where you think that they are making sense. So just ensure that you do that. The second thing, the next thing that we have seen very commonly is that whenever someone is writing an article, what they do is that they add random alt text to the images. What does alt text means? Whenever a person who has a disability, let's say if someone is not able to see properly or someone is blind, they use software like screen readers. Screen readers read the entire content on the page for their users. And when you add irrelevant alt text to your images, the alt text gets read by the screen readers, and that adds up to bad user experience, because people with disability, they are not able to deduce what sort of image you have added because they cannot see. And with Google's NLP, that is the natural language processing, they also check your article using screen reader software that they have developed internally. And when they see that the content on the content that is present on the image and the alt text that you have added are not matching, they kind of devalue your content because they know that that you are trying to manipulate. So whenever you are adding an image to your post or to your product pages, always ensure that you define the images properly, and not just by adding random random alt text to them. So let me just add an image, media library. I'll choose, let's say, this. So in the alt text, always define what this image is showing. So this is a logo of my website for agency. This is how you define the alt text, and this is how it should be added. Not not any other way, like stuffing it with the keywords. People often mistake that just by adding the schema markup on your website, you will get higher rankings. That is definitely not the case. How the schema markup helps is that it helps you get the rich results, which in turn helps you get more clicks on your website, onto your page. But it in no way, at least we have not seen that in our tests, that just by adding the schema markup you get higher rankings in the search results. So you should not be relating both of them. But yes, at the same point of time, you should be adding schema markup. And if you are using RankMath, it is very easy. So you can simply go ahead and click on the score button that shows up on the right hand side, and then choose the schema type from the third drop down. More pages is equals to more ranking. Do not end up creating like tens of different pages. If you can combine all those pages into one, think of it from your perspective. You wouldn't want to read about a particular topic via 10 different pages. You would want one big article so that you can scroll through the sections where you are very much interested, rather than going through 10 different pages and then figuring it out whether or not you wanted you want to read all those pages or not. This translates directly to your search engine rankings, because Google has Google actually created a penalty around this, and they, when the Panda and Penguin update came, they noticed that people were creating like tens of different pages when they could have combined all those pages into one. So Google definitely prioritize quality over quantity. So you should not be doing that. And then, as I mentioned at the very beginning, do not add no follow tags to all the external links on your pages. Let's say you are adding just a sec. Let's say yes, let's say you are adding a link to your link to some other third-party website from your content. Do not add a no follow tag, because Google says that if you cannot if you're not able to trust the website that you are linking from your content, how could we trust your website? So they also released a statement around this. So do not so until unless you have an affiliate website, do not use a no follow tag on your website. Now let's talk about some exciting stuff, which is like the last section that I'll be discussing here. People say that the rating schema is not available anymore because they do not see the star ratings on the search results. That is not true. So if you have an article or a page on a website where you have written about a particular product, or you have reviewed about a particular product, what you can do is that you, let's say this article is about GoDaddy Pro hosting. So GoDaddy Pro is a product and I'm reviewing about that. So what you can do is that you can choose the schema tab, and then from the schema tab, choose product. Then the next option is to choose where you want the review to be shown. Usually you can show that below the content, because this is a requirement by Google that whenever you are rating a product or a service, you must show the rating to your users as well. Then you can define the title if you want this title to be different to your post title and the SEO description. This is completely optional. The second thing is to know what is the SKU value of this product. Since I do not know that, you can simply leave that as blank. The next thing is to enter the product brand. In this case, this is GoDaddy Pro. Product currency, they usually deal with USD if they are dealing with the users from America and South America. And the product price, you can simply go ahead and Google that, and as you can see, their price usually starts from let's say 14.99. So what you can simply pick that and enter that for 14.99, because that is their base price. And then for how long this price will be valid, you do not know about. And then the rating is the overall rating that you want whatever product or the service you are reviewing to be shown on the search results. As I'm entering 4.9, this value will show up in here, the rating. The minimum rating would be 0 and the maximum rating could be 5. So out of 5, I'm giving like 4.9. So this is how you attain a rating schema in the search results. But again, just because if you are writing an article and these values are not showing, do not change the schema type to some other type which supports the rating schema. Otherwise, Google will end up penalizing your website. So until unless you are writing, let's say about a course or a recipe or a product, I mean, do not enter the values in the rating schema. So this is how you attain the rating schema. The next thing is to use the FAQ schema. The FAQ schema is something that greatly helps when you're writing, when you're trying to compete against your competitors. And at the same point of time, Google shows this FAQ schema only on only on the first page of the search result. So what this does is that Google shows more real estate, as you can see, compared to all the other results. As you can see, all the other results on this page do not have as much real estate as this page does. And adding FAQ schema is very easy when you are using a plugin like RankMath. What you can do is that you can simply click on this and then choose the FAQ. And in here, you can enter the question. So let's say if I'm writing about Elementor SEO, for instance, you can scroll down and you can see that people also ask. You get an idea of what sort of questions people are searching for. You can simply go ahead and choose the question titles from here. You can add them in here. Is Elementor good for SEO? And then you can write your answer in here, whatever answer you want to be shown in the search results. And all those results will show up in here. You can add links if they are relevant, and if your website qualifies, then it shows up in the search result. The next thing is to add the internal links. If you are using RankMath plugin, then in the document section, you can scroll down and you can see that various link suggestions will show up if you have pre-selected pillar posts on your website, and you can read more about that on our website. So if some suggestions are showing up in here, you can simply add those suggestions into your content. If not, you can definitely go ahead and choose the links on your website or the different pages that are relevant to your content, and you can add them as the internal links. One of the things that we skipped at the beginning was to connect our Google Search Console account with the RankMath plugin. But if you do that, what you get with that is that this, you get to see all the top ranking keywords there and how many clicks you are driving through them, and the impressions and the CTR. So you get a bird eye view of which articles are ranking on the first position or on third position or on the first page or on the second page. And if you see that you have articles that are ranking on the first page but not in the first position, then you can go ahead and optimize your articles further so that you can try and attain that first position. The SEO analyzer part, when you have your free RankMath account connected with the RankMath plugin, you can run the SEO analysis, and whenever you see and you can see all the different things that are being suggested or being missing on your website, you can go ahead and optimize them. As you can see that it shows how you can fix it, add images, add all text to all the images on a website, and you can do that very easily. So yes, if you want to know more about it, these are the links from where you can read how to further set up the RankMath plugin, because this is a very vast plugin, and if you are an advanced user, you would want to explore this plugin in depth. And there is a video tutorial as well. And then if you want to know more about what is SEO in general, then you can read this article. And for keyword planner and keyword research, we will have another webinar where we will dive deep into how to choose the keyword for which you should be targeting. And if you are an Elementor user, you can read our guide about Elementor. So yes, thanks a lot everyone who is watching it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and I'll be more than happy to answer them here.
Thanks for that. That was a lot of information there, a lot of really great information. We do have a few questions from some of the people who were with us today. I think we're a little bit over time. You don't mind staying a few extra minutes for questions though, right?
Yeah, definitely not.
Awesome. So we got a question from Nick. I think that you probably touched on this a little bit when you were showing us the setup, but he said his site is built with Elementor and ACF. The content on his event pages come from data and text defined in the ACF fields, so he can format the pages using a template. And he says that every time he sets up RankMath details for SEO, he gets lower scores because it can't see the data. And he wants to know if RankMath is compatible with ACF. I saw an ACF option in one of the settings that you were going over. Is that something he would need to enable to make that compatible then?
Yes. So what you can do is that you can go ahead and click on the dashboard area, and then if you have the ACF plugin installed and activated, then you can activate this module, and then all the data from the custom fields of ACF will be read by the RankMath plugin, and then you should be able. Then the RankMath plugin should be able to analyze your content in a better way. If not, feel free to reach out to us, because otherwise something else might be conflicting on your website. Otherwise, RankMath plugin is 100% compatible with the ACF plugin.
Awesome. Where's the best place for them to reach out to you if anyone has an issue with that?
Yeah, I mean, you can either reach out to me directly using my email address, which is shown on the screen, which is bhanu.a@rankmath.com. Otherwise, you can also visit our free support, which is at support@rankmath.com. And you can open up a new support ticket with us, and then we will be more than happy to assist you. We have various support team members that are working day in and out with the support tickets.
Awesome. Another question from Paka. How do I connect my Instagram? He's not seeing an option for that in social media. Is there an option to connect Instagram?
No, but you must have noticed that few plugins do provide that option, but they do not know that Google no longer um, uh, honors the meta tags that are related to social media. So in one of the recent updates that happened back in like May, if I can recall well, we removed the options to connect your social media accounts with the RankMath plugin, because neither Bing nor Google, they are not honoring those tags anymore. So that is irrelevant and they should not be added. So otherwise that will only add the bulk to the plugin. So we removed those options.
Okay. I have an attendee who raised their hand, so I'm going to invite them to talk now. Kunal, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but you're welcome to ask your question.
Hi, Vanu.
Hey.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for this detailed session. My question is, which schema type to select for homepage?
Okay, so in most of the cases, it should either be a web page or a website, or you should select the none from the drop down, because your home page usually is not a product page or is not an article page. So if until unless you have like a single landing page, you should not be selecting anything from the schema drop down.
Okay, so none is the best option for that.
Yes, yes. In most of the cases, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. One more question I have is that there is an option in your plugin to add missing altered attributes to the images, right? But
Yes.
still in SEO analysis, I can see some images don't have alter attributes. Why?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what that option actually do is that it adds the alt text to the content pages, to the content of your website, not to the home page. So when you are running the SEO analyzer on your inside the RankMath plugin, that actually uh, analyzes the home page of your website. And if you're seeing missing alt text, then that is mostly because your theme provider has not added the alt text to the images of the theme. So you got to get in touch with them. They'll be more they'll be in a better position to help you with that.
Okay, great. And one last question.
Yes.
I have an e-commerce website, and as you know, in e-commerce website we have a lot of products. So is there
Yeah.
any way we can add focus keywords automatically to all the products?
So the focus keyword in the RankMath plugin or Yoast or SEO Press or whatever other SEO plugin you are using, that is only to analyze the content. That is not being passed to Google. So Google does not know what as what sort of keyword you are trying to optimize, because they have their own means and they try and go through the entire content of your page and then try and analyze what sort of best keyword your product page should be shown for. So I would highly recommend not to try and optimize and go after the SEO scores in the RankMath plugin or any other SEO plugin. And for the e-commerce website, I would want to add that in most of the cases, product pages are not the ones that you should be optimizing for. You should be trying to create a section on your website for blog, and then from the blog, you try and drive the traffic to your product pages. For instance, you can write like 10 best health supplements, and in those 10 best health supplements, you can link to one of your products so that you can drive the traffic to your blog, and then from those blog articles you can drive the traffic over to your product pages. That is much more rewarding and should be converting better for you, rather than trying to drive the traffic directly to your product pages.
Great. Thank you very much, and all the best to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kunal. We had another question from Paka. He says, he or she, I'm not entirely certain if that's a female or male name. They say, I manually add TOC. How do I get RankMath to recognize it in blog posts?
Okay, so on our website, let me just show you. We have a filter that you got to add manually. Table of, yes. So if your plugin is not being, if you're adding the table of content manually, then what you can do is that you can copy this code into your themes functions.php file, and from there the RankMath plugin will be able to determine whether or not you are able to whether or not you are adding a TOC to your website. But do remember, these tests are only for the RankMath plugin. But if you are already adding a table of content on your page, you do not need to be bothered whether or not an SEO plugin like RankMath is able to detect that, because Google will still be able to see that, and they will still be able to show the jump links, because one of the benefits of adding the table of content is that Google shows such jump links on the search results, so that whenever someone clicks on the links, they get scrolled directly to that section of your article. Yeah.
Awesome. We also had a question from Andy. He wants to know, how do ads impact organic CTR on Google?
How do ads impact? I mean, in one of the slides at the beginning, I guess I showed you how that is now impacting the search results. So you can read more about this on this website, systrix.com. They actually conducted a very recent study on this, and they noticed that the ads are blending way too well in the search results, and people are not able to determine whether they are clicking on the ads or on the search results. So in most of the cases, the traffic is now being directed over to the ads, but you can read more about it on their website. Yeah.
Awesome, thanks. I actually have one last question for you, and it's mine. I saw during the setup for the account, custom mode is coming soon, then that's going to be a pro option. Are you considering paid features, and what will come with it?
Yes, we have already developed a premium version of the plugin, but at the same point of time, we will not be taking out any of the free options that are being provided currently. But the pro version of the plugin will be for the advanced users, and we have created like very exciting modules for the plugin, which we developed for the enterprise clients previously, and now we are going to introduce them for everyone. So we will be releasing the pro version in the coming weeks, and we'll be announcing that in our group.
Awesome. I'll look forward to that announcement. That's all we have
Yeah.
today. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll make sure that we get the recording out to everyone everyone has been asking for the recording. We'll get that out as soon as possible so y'all can rewatch. There was a lot of information shared, so definitely I recommend rewatching 2 or 3 times if you can. Thanks, Banu.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Also, keep in mind, Banu
Yeah.
will be joining us again on the 17th to follow up with that keyword research.
Yes, definitely. We will be discussing more about the keyword research, how one should be choosing the keywords that they should be targeting so that they can drive easy traffic, especially if someone is starting out.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye. Take care.